There was a period in my life when I truly believed that if I just worked harder, became more capable, earned more money, then happiness would naturally come. Back then, I thought life was like a race. If you could run fast enough, be successful enough, achieve enough, then eventually you would feel fulfilled inside. But the older I got, the more I realized something strange. There are people who seem to have everything: a stable career, financial success, a good life, and yet, their eyes still look tired. There are also people who achieve everything they once dreamed of, only to wake up one day and ask themselves, what am I actually living for? That was when I started to understand. The thing that truly changes a person's life is not age, not money, but this: what has that person truly realized in life? I had heard the word awakening many times before, but I always thought it was something distant, something philosophical, meant for deeply spiritual people. Until one day, I experienced that feeling for myself. Oh, so that's what it means. It wasn't intellectual understanding. It wasn't hearing a good quote and nodding along. It was something that made me stop completely. It felt like something inside me had shifted. The way I saw life changed. The way I saw people changed. And from that moment on, my choices started changing too. That is what true awakening really is. Awakening is not learning another piece of information. Awakening is when something cuts through your old way of thinking and makes it impossible for you to live the same way again. Some people live for decades without ever truly understanding anything deeply. And some people are still very young. Yet after one painful experience, they mature in ways that surprise everyone around them. That's when I realized, age does not determine how deep a person is. What matters is what they understood after everything they went through. And awakening also comes in different levels. Some realizations only change a small thing: a habit, a thought, a perspective. That is a small awakening. For example, there was a time when I realized, not everyone who stays quiet is cold-hearted. Some people simply don't know how to express their emotions. Just understanding that one thing made me stop blaming others so much. But there are also great awakenings. The kind of realization that changes the direction of your entire life. I had one of those moments. Back then, I always thought other people were the reason for my pain. I blamed circumstances. I blamed the people who hurt me. I blamed life for being unfair. Until one day I realized, life was not keeping me trapped in suffering. It was the repetitive thoughts in my own mind that kept me there. At that moment, it honestly felt like I woke up. And then I started asking myself, why do some people grow after pain, while others stay trapped in it for years? Later, I understood. Not everyone who experiences hardship reaches awakening. Some people struggle their entire lives, yet repeat the same painful patterns. Some people learn countless things, yet their lives never really change. Because the root of awakening is not experience itself. It is questioning. Questioning is the set of thoughts that repeat over and over in your mind. The questions that stay with you. The things you deeply want answers to. For example, how can I live happily? How can I live in peace? How can I take control of my own life? Those questions are what lead people to search, to learn, to observe, to reflect, and eventually to change. I realized something very important. A person's life usually moves in the direction of the questions they repeatedly ask themselves. If every day I keep thinking, why is life unfair to me? Why did that person betray me? Why am I always unlucky? Then my mind will automatically search for evidence to confirm those beliefs. And the more I think that way, the more trapped I become. The more I think that way, the darker life feels. That is negative questioning. But if I change the questions, how can I become more peaceful? What do I need to change to become happier? How can my family become deeply prosperous? Then the direction of my mind changes too. At that point, I stopped looking only for reasons to complain. I started looking for solutions, for growth, for ways to move beyond the old version of myself. I used to think being positive meant always feeling happy. But that's not true. Later I realized, whether a thought is positive or negative depends on the direction it leads you toward. If I want happiness, but every day I keep asking myself, why am I always suffering? Why am I still poor even though I work so hard? Then those are still negative thoughts. But if I truly want a better life, and keep asking, what can I do to become better? Then that is questioning aligned with desire. And this is exactly what changed my life. I realized, the human mind works like a search engine. It searches for answers to the questions we repeatedly ask. If I ask in the direction of suffering, I will continue seeing more suffering. If I ask in the direction of growth, I will slowly begin to see opportunities, solutions, and light. That is the principle of questioning in alignment with your desire. When a person becomes deeply concerned with what they truly want, change begins. And honestly, the formula for transformation is very simple. Question right pointing arrow inquiry right pointing arrow awakening right pointing arrow understanding right pointing arrow transformation. The direction of your questions becomes the direction of your life. If your questioning is positive, your understanding becomes positive, your awakening becomes positive, and your transformation becomes positive. If your questioning is negative, you slowly pull yourself deeper into suffering. There's another lesson that took me many years to understand. And that is this: don't ask vague questions. So many people say, I want success. I want financial freedom. I want my dream job. But they never sit down and truly define, what does success actually mean to me? What does financial freedom mean to me? What kind of life do I truly want to live? If the question is unclear, the mind will not know where to go. And I also realized something else that was deeply important. Your job is not as important as the life it creates. I used to think having my dream job would be enough. But later, I met people who already had the job they once dreamed about, yet still weren't living the life they truly wanted. That was when I understood, a job is only a tool for creating value. What matters most is, does it help me live the life I truly want? This lesson changed my life deeply. I started changing the way I think, changing the questions inside my mind. And little by little, everything around me began changing too. If you're feeling stuck today, maybe what you need is not more effort. Maybe what you need is to ask yourself better questions. Because sometimes, just one powerful question can completely change a person's destiny. If you feel this lesson resonates with you too, comment the number 2. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so we can continue learning lessons that have the power to transform our lives.